Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing a deep dive, literally, into the anatomy of an absolute disaster. We're going to unpack exactly how a groundbreaking, highly secretive medical experiment located deep inside an underwater facility in the Pacific Ocean went horribly, irreversibly wrong. We'll be tracking every critical error, every terrible stroke of bad luck, and every fatal decision that turned a sterile, state-of-the-art laboratory into a sunken death trap.
Now you might be wondering, what actually happens when a desperate quest to cure a devastating disease like Alzheimer's collides with an apex predator? Well, to understand the sheer magnitude of this failure, we have to establish the massive stakes involved here. Millions of people worldwide are waiting for an Alzheimer's cure. So, this wasn't just some fringe science project. We're talking about a high-tech, heavily funded mission with revolutionary potential, but it was completely isolated, miles and miles away from any help.
Okay, to really comprehend the chain of events that follows, we first have to understand the baseline danger of this underwater laboratory. The research entirely centers around Dr. Robert Harris and his incredibly reactive test subject. This wasn't your ordinary lab animal. It was a massive, prehistoric-looking shark kept in a deep-sea tank. But, and this is absolutely crucial, this creature was hypersensitive. I mean, a flicker of light, a faint vibration, or literally just a whisper could trigger it wide awake. Dr. Harris fundamentally underestimated just how dangerous it is to cage a creature that is so perfectly tuned to its environment.
Despite all that danger, though, the team actually achieved the impossible. They executed this highly complex procedure. First, they implant a microdevice directly into the shark's brain using a high-tech imaging system and this really long needle. Next, they extract a rare protein. And finally, they mix that protein with damaged nerve cells from Alzheimer's patients. And when they followed these steps on the sedated shark, the monitor showed an actual miracle. The dead cells began to regenerate. It's so important we recognize this moment of absolute triumph, because for one brief second, this noble scientific breakthrough was a complete 100% success.
But right at the peak of that triumph, human error sets in. And I mean a tiny error. A single cigarette ruined the entire thing. This is the exact, fatal catalyst that transitions our story from sterile, controlled science into visceral, chaotic horror. Honestly, it just shows how incredibly fragile their control over this environment truly was, right? One tiny lapse in discipline brought down a multi-million-dollar facility. Let's break down exactly how fast this went sideways. Dr. Kevin Miller, one of the lead scientists, is so overwhelmed with joy at the cell regeneration that he just lights a cigarette without even thinking. He steps near the edge of the open tank, and that hypersensitive shark, it catches the scent of the smoke. Instantly, its eyes snap open. In a fraction of a second, the shark lunges right out of the water and clamps its jaws around Miller's arm, tearing it completely off. Blood sprays everywhere, screams fill the room, and just like that, the calm of the lab is violently shattered. So suddenly, Dr. Harris is forced into a split-second, almost impossible choice to save his life's research. Option A, keep this fully awake, absolutely furious shark contained and risk it smashing its massive body against the reinforced glass until the lab breaches. Or option B, activate the emergency release and flush the angry beast out into the raging storm of the open ocean. Harris panics. He chooses option B. He flushes the shark out. But as we're about to see, this proves to be the absolute worst decision possible.
What follows is the ultimate Murphy's Law scenario. It beautifully and terrifyingly illustrates the sheer speed of an escalating disaster. A rescue helicopter arrives in the middle of this massive storm to airlift the bleeding Dr. Miller. But the shark, which is now out in its natural hunting ground, bites the steel lifting cable. It literally shakes the helicopter like a toy, causing the cable to snap and dropping Miller straight into the sea. The out-of-control chopper then smashes directly into the facility's communication tower. Boom! A massive explosion rains fire and metal down onto the base, utterly destroying their comms. Now they are completely cut off. And the shark, it returns, rams the weakened glass, and seawater bursts through, flooding the lower lab.
Now, while the main lab is actively sinking, an incredible sequence of events unfolds up on the upper floor. In a super fast-paced and honestly kind of ironic juxtaposition to the brilliant scientists, we track the facility's chef. This tough guy named Mike ends up facing off against a smaller shark that has breached the kitchen. Knocked into the flooded water, Mike literally dives inside an industrial oven to hide. I mean, no way, right? The shark rams the oven, which accidentally turns on the gas. Then, in a twist of absolute MacGyver-like brilliance, Mike chops a hole with an axe to escape into the water and tosses his lighter back toward the gas leak. The massive explosion tears the small shark apart. It's crazy. In a facility full of geniuses, it's the guy making the soufflés who figures out how to blow up the shark.
But the situation goes from a tragic, freaky accident to a criminal disaster with one dark reveal. Listen to this quote from Dr. Harris. "We injected an illegal chemical into the shark's brain. It increased its intelligence, but also made it violently aggressive." Wow, this completely changes our understanding of the disaster, doesn't it? This wasn't merely bad luck or an unpredictable animal acting out. No, this was a direct consequence of scientific overreach, absolute hubris, and a deeply hidden secret. They intentionally created a hyper-intelligent, hyper-aggressive monster.
And the consequences of that hubris are immediate and severe. As the facility crumbles, the environment itself becomes a weapon. It claims James, Sarah, and Tom, one by one, as they desperately try to escape to the surface. James Russell volunteers to dive for an exit and gets dragged into the depths. Then, a broken staircase causes researcher Sarah to lose her footing, pulling her under before anyone can reach her. And Tom? Well, Tom is killed by a brutal bite just as they finally manage to get the generator started.
So it all comes down to a chaotic final stand. The last survivors of this multi-million-dollar, state-of-the-art lab are reduced to using nothing but bubbles, a harpoon, and a live electrical wire. Dr. Harris, seeing the absolute ruin of his illegal work, ultimately sacrifices himself. He cuts his hand, bleeds into the water, and acts as bait so the shark will attack him. This grim distraction allows Carter, the security officer, to dodge an attack, while Mike fires a harpoon into the creature. Finally, Mike connects that live electrical wire, resulting in a massive explosion that finally puts the highly intelligent shark down for good.
When you look at the final status of the crew, the ultimate tragic irony of this disaster is undeniable. The brilliant scientists who engineered the illegal chemical and caused the entire disaster, Dr. Harris and Dr. Miller, are both dead. The innocent crew members who just tried to help them escape, they're gone too. Out of a multi-million-dollar high-tech facility, the only ones with the raw survival instincts to make it out alive were the security guard and the cook. Literally, two men who had absolutely nothing to do with the Alzheimer's research in the first place.
So yeah, they stopped the terror, but it leaves us with one haunting question. Was the cure worth the cost? Think about it. The Alzheimer's cells did regenerate. The cure was 100% real, but the price of cutting corners and playing God with an apex predator was absolute destruction. Thank you so much for walking through this explainer with me, and I'll leave you to ponder that question.